So over the past few videos, we've asked you, our viewers, to leave your questions in the comment section below so that we could help you out with your grow. Here's a selection of those questions that we thought would be helpful for other people. You've got questions, and we've got answers. I'm Dr. Judd with GreenCert MD. Let's get into it. As always, this information is intended for medical educational purposes only. I am not diagnosing or treating any condition you may have, and please know and comply with all applicable laws wherever you may live. Hey guys, today I'm joined again by our good friend Tim McCorkle from Titan Healthcare. He's here to help us answer some of your questions that you have submitted over the past several videos regarding various questions you have in terms of germination, seedlings, transferring seedlings, and getting your plants all up into veg, and dealing, of course, again with watering, lighting, and now nutrients. If you missed our nutrient video, that's not your fault. That's YouTube's fault. So click here on that link to go watch that. We'd very much appreciate your support there. YouTube continues to arbitrarily place restrictions on videos themed such as ours. And I also wanted to apologize if I am basically channeling Jeremy from the quartering by using certain euphemisms during this video, because we are trying to do our best to make sure that we are able to bring you quality content that is not age restricted or otherwise prevented from getting out to the masses. So, hey Tim, thanks for joining me.
Hey Doc, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
So let's see here. So our first question comes to us from the blobfish. Why are your leaves so sturdy and big? And you know, he questions whether or not it might be related to genetics. He did state that his plants all grew healthy as well, just not as big a leaf or stem. Mm-hmm. My general response to that was that, yes, I think you're totally correct. I think that that is, to some extent, genetics playing a role in it. There are also differences in the way leaves appear between indica and sativa, isn't there?
That is correct. You'll have the fatter, traditionally speaking, you'll have fatter, broader leaf style with the indica plant and more narrow with the sativa. The hybrids will kind of be a blend in of that. But as you indicated, Doc, what the questionnaire is referring to is probably genetic based, I would think.
Yeah. And then in terms of that, you know, beyond the coloring, I think that that probably has something to do with our feeding regimen. You know, there are situations where actually, you know, you want to be in the middle green, right? You don't want it to be the super dark green that starts looking more like toxicity, but you also don't want it to be light green, which is, you know, could be indicative of a deficiency, right?
Exactly. So if you're using over-the-counter nutrients, in most situations, you're not going to be faced with a deficiency. Those are tailored to cover the spectrum. If anything, there's probably an imbalance somewhere in your pH, or you're looking at a situation where there's a nutrient lockout.
Yep. All right. Our next question comes from Mike Love, and it says, how long were your seedlings in the 4-inch pot, and how long did you have them in 1-gallon pots? So I responded in the comments section about that usually it's about 2 to 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. I find that honestly, I don't necessarily always track it. So sometimes, you know, I'm not entirely sure how long it's been in that pot. But I will, you know, take my root riots with my seedling in it. Once that's planted, somewhere in that 2 to 3 week range, it will get to the point that it is needing to be watered daily. And that's usually how I will indicate that I need to go ahead and get it transplanted into a bigger pot. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, it a lot comes down to your growing style, how aggressively you're being with your nutrients. Are you trying to push that plant, or are you just taking it as per the protocol that's listed on the package? Let me forewarn everybody, the plant can only take up so much, so adding more is not really going to help yourself throughout it. These formulas have been developed so that they're very precision and very simple for folks to use. So follow that to a T. You shouldn't go wrong.
Yep. And, you know, one thing that this question didn't ask about, but that I wanted to go ahead and mention here is autoflowers. Mm-hmm. So we are putting together, I think once we get done with our current photoperiod grow cycle, we will be doing some autoflowers and comparing some different ways to do that in search of the easiest way for a new person to get into growing. And someone brought up a question about replanting autoflowers. And I know that you can do it, but it's not necessarily the best thing to do.
Yes. As a general rule of thumb, the less touches on a plant period, the better. But in an auto flower situation, they're a lot more temperamental. So I recommend, you get them started, put them in their home, and let them ride from there. And then that way there's less trauma to them. They're ready to do what they want to do, and you don't need to mess with anything else.
Yep. And, I have typically gone from, root riot to 4-inch round to 1 gallon, and then I'll skip 3 gallon and go to 5 gallon because that's what I'm going to flower in. And that, also minimizes touch on at least the photoperiod plants, at least one transplant, because
Right.
I found that it's so quick to go from 1 to 3 to 5 that you might as well just go from 1 to 5. And I don't feel that I have as much of a worry about overwatering and getting root riot and whatnot, as opposed to taking a root riot and sticking it in a 5-gallon pot.
Right.
But you think that it will be okay to take a root riot as soon as you get roots out of it with an autoflower? Just take that, put it right in like a 3-gallon. Would you run a autoflower in a 5-gallon?
I think I'd go from a 4-inch round up to a 3.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the other thing I was thinking of, is at least in my experience, and that's not a whole lot of experience, but in my general experience with autoflowers, they go into flower when they want. You don't want to stress them and trigger that too early by doing a lot of transplanting, but at the same time, I don't know whether you need to put it in a 5-gallon pot or not. I think maybe that's a genetic varies based on
Yes.
how people are doing that. But
Historically speaking, excluding the new F1s that are available through Royal Queen, they're so you're typically not dealing with the same style of root mass that you would be, with the exception of the F1s. So staying in a smaller pot and keeping that more confined is not a problem. I've seen them even flower in a red solo cup. So anything's possible with those little plants.
yeah, that's what we should do, is get a lot of little red solo cups with full flower
Right.
autos in them.
Yeah, great Christmas present.
All right. Another good question came in from one of our viewers that said, what strains would we recommend for stealth growing, by which they meant something that would put off the least amount of smell?
Wow, that's a tough one. Because that's contrary to everything that you're wanting to do with the plant. The plant is designed specifically for the smell. That's what we want it to do. Its fragrance is important to its propagation naturally. So my best advice would be, in terms of some of the products that are out there, the Vivo Sun product, the tents, the fans. You have a lot of experience with some of those, and you're getting ready to do your video on those. So I would recommend something like that.
Yeah, so definitely, this is one of those situations where I think a tent comes in very handily. You are able to establish that negative pressure profile where you have a fan that's literally sucking air into the tent to make it kind of collapse in on itself. That's being expelled out through a carbon filter, and the goal of that is so that air is coming into the tent and being forced through the filter, so you're not venting that smell out to other places. And using a charcoal activated filter should reduce people's ability to detect that smell, unless they're literally standing right next to the tent, at which point, they probably will be able to notice something. And then, like you already mentioned, the Vivo Sun V-Grow box that's coming out, that we do have one that we have on order that hopefully will be here soon. That is supposed to be basically the Gorilla Grow, stick it in your closet. People don't know it's there. It also has an activated charcoal filter built in and stuff like that. So
for all you old schoolers out there, you'll remember this trick as well. You can also, at the output of your fan, you can ball up a number of dryer sheets and put that in there, so as the air is passed through there, you get the dryer scent versus the cannabis smell. We've all done that with making the hot box tubes when we were kids. So
yeah, awesome. So, so I'm going to be gone to a conference in Spain, which we will shoot video of and bring back to show you guys. And then, we are basically finishing out the vegetative period during that time that I am gone. So for any of you that are following our grow at home, now would be the time to retransplant, when you get to that 1 to 3 week range, 2 to 3 week range, to go ahead and transplant into a 5-gallon, just like you did with the previous 2 things. Use your mycorrhizae when you transplant into the 5-gallon pot as well. And then, we're aiming to get those plants. I'm going to flip them when they are about 30 to 36 inches tall. Any other advice for people as they finish up veg here before we get back and we go to flower, I guess?
No, this is an exciting time for your plant. You're getting ready to go into the final stages of the grow. So far, you should be looking at a robust plant that's enjoying its life, looking full, looking healthy. I think, as you indicated, we'll be talking about trimming and pruning in an upcoming episode. And stay tuned for that. And we look forward to growing along with this.
Yep. All right. So I'm very glad that everyone here has been joining us. Hopefully you found this helpful. If so, if you can hit like, smash that subscribe button, and be sure to ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming content. And also consider supporting us on Patreon, where we will be providing additional benefits for growers on there. And until I see you again, puff, puff, and pass it on.